Welcome everyone to the Culture Corner Canada. We've got a very special guest with you today. G'day, Wazza from Australia. How are you, mate?
Thanks, buddy.
Very good. And the one and only Tony Guerreri, one of our best mates here in Canada, the king of culture. Tony, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing awesome. Good to see you guys.
Fantastic. So today we're going to talk specifically, we've actually chosen a topic today rather than a question from our community, because while we've got Tony here, which won't be the last time you'll be on the episode, we'll probably need a bunch of these to go through everything, Tony, but you are the CEO of Roma Moulding, a wonderful organisation based in Vaughan, just north of Toronto. For our viewers, can you just give us a quick 2 to 3 minute synopsis of your journey, taking over the family business and the transformation that you took the company through, just to give a bit of context, because we're going to talk today about the fine balancing act of building a culture of accountability and a culture of care and support and fun, and how you've brilliantly managed what we like to call that performance pendulum. So give us your intro, Tone.
Well, thanks. First off, thanks for having me. I always love sharing the journey and hope that it lands and makes an impact on, your viewers. For us, we're in a very traditional business. We're in the picture frame business. We're not in some high tech Shopify-ish type of cool industry, although we like to think we've made framing really cool. And so you might not know it, but we're in your home. We hang on your wall. So we're either your mirror in your bathroom, or we surround a work of art in your home, or maybe one of your children's diplomas or something of that nature. So to give you context of what we do, and that's what we do. But as far as our company is concerned, I joined the company in 1999. My dad started the business in 1984 during the height of a recession. And he did well, bootstrapped the business. There was no venture money, no angel. It was take money out of your house and put it into a business. It was not called a startup. It was, we're going to start a new business. And it was a burn the boats mentality. And my dad taught me that early on, like you put your head down and you do what it takes. So fast forward in 1999, I joined the business. It was the dot-com boom. Things were going bananas. We were doing really, really well. And we continued to do well up until the global financial crisis. And I'm sure, for the viewers out there, I don't care if you're in Australia, Japan, Italy, or Canada, in some way, shape, or form, you felt the global financial crisis. And that's what's kind of good about the story, because everybody remembers it, some more than others, but it affected our business. We're a luxury-based product. We don't, we're not selling beer or selling, cell phones or refrigerators, for God's sakes. People don't need a picture frame; they need a refrigerator. And so during that crisis of 0809, it was really a time where our company really got shook at its core. And I often equate a very important analogy to a business being like a boat or a ship in the ocean. You build the ship for the worst of times in the water, right? There's an old adage that said smooth seas never created great sailors, or something along that line.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. I kind of paraphrase it and say every monkey's a great sailor when waters are really smooth and there's a slight breeze, but it's a different story when you get into 20-foot swells and the sky's black. So it's a very different situation. I like to believe we had built a really great business, and my father had built a really great business, but 0809 really shook us at the core, and we were bleeding, hemorrhaging, lots of money because people just didn't need the product, right? And that was the first true test of our company's really structure foundation, if you can think of. We were being rattled and we were swaying, and really. We were, during that crisis, which lasted a number of years, during that crisis, all we knew how to do was do more of the same stuff and hope for different results. And it just was the adage at the time. And we were doing, 15 trade shows. Well, we were going to do 30 trade shows, or we were going to, travel to go see more customers, and we were going to be on the road more.
Yeah.
And so we did more of the same, hope for different results. You guys are both smart. You know what happens there. You get more of the same results, unfortunately, and less bottom line.
Yeah.
And that's when, quite frankly, I began to get burnt out in my own family business. I didn't like what I had become. I was on the road. I achieved elite status in flying. And believe me, everybody wants to achieve that. When you get it, you start crying. And if you ever look at the guys and girls who are called for, we have the elite guys, and everybody's like miserable. That's because they fly too much. And I was that guy. But I was away from home a lot. I despised being in trade shows. The results were dismal. Anyways, I just had I had a moment of myself and didn't know if I was going to do the next 10 years of my life the same way. I just couldn't see a vision, a future of my life. I was living out of a suitcase. It just wasn't sustainable. I wanted family. I wanted some sort of balance, although balance is another funny thing. But I wanted, a different life. And that's when I was at a trade show. And during that time, trade shows were dead, but we were locked into 5-year leases in some of our trade show rent. So we had to go whether we liked it or not. Nobody was at this trade show. And it was a pivotal moment for me because it was such a low, when you're spending upwards of $500,000 in trade show space a year in rent, and you're sitting there and no one's coming in. It's not only daunting in that moment, but you're thinking about the numbers, right? Anyways, I got invited out by one of the organizers of the trade show for dinner. He said, "Tony, by the look on your face, you could probably use a drink. We'd love to have you." And he was so right. We went out to dinner, and much like we've gone out to dinner, and I hit it off with someone across the table. It was about 4 or 5 of us. And I hit it off, and to maybe condense everything, we talked about work life and we talked about balance and work. And anyway, she reached in her purse and she pulled out a book that unequivocally changed my life. And it was kind of like that moment in the kind of like You've Got Mail when the two actors really get emotional together. Well, the lights were dimming, the book slid across the desk, and it was this book called Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. And she went on about how you can build a remarkable culture by treating your employees remarkably, and as a result, they'll treat your company and your customers remarkably, and your customers will come back for more. And folks, I didn't buy any of it, but later I was hooked, and that really catapulted me into a very different style leadership. It catapulted me into becoming CEO of the company and restarting my business. At the time, a 27-year-old business. Restarting that was not easy. But fast forward, it's been 10 years. Whether it's COVID or the next COVID or whatever else comes our way, we're just a far more structurally sound company. We have a remarkable team and a remarkable culture, and our results are remarkable right now as a result of that.
And so if I can just, because I know you well, I'm going to give a quick synopsis. You then went and did a tour of Zappos, came back up to Toronto, told your father about it, jumped on a plane back. He went through the tour. He was amazed that the fridges didn't have padlocks on them, that there was, you serve yourself and a trust model and then people having parties. It looked like the place was a party. And you basically picked up that type of model of building great internal relationships and a culture of fun. And today you can actually do tours of your office that shows people that brilliant balance between care and fun and enjoyment at work married into accountability. So I'm just painting that picture right now, because then a number of years ago, when Warren was working at was managing director of the Melbourne office of a global company, I did one of your tours. So let's just fast track to your journey, going to Tony's office. What did you see and what did you take back to Australia through that? Because then we'll dovetail back around to Tony and how you've been able to create this amazing culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was going through the same journey as Tony in some respect. I was working in a marketing agency, and I had the the elite status of flight miles myself, which included international as well. Like I remember I was saying to the team even last week, I used to go out and maximize my time away. So I'd leave on a Sunday night so I could have all Monday morning, and then leave on Friday night so I could actually get into home on Saturday and then leave on Sunday night again. But in the end, I was leaving, like if I was going to Singapore, that's a 7-hour flight. I'd leave in the red eye at 7 p.m. to get into Singapore at 2 a.m., do a full day of work. So go to a hotel, sleep for 4 hours, get up, go to a full day of work in Singapore, do the red eye home, which lands you in Melbourne at 7 a.m. the next day, and then do a full day of work. So I did 48 hours of no sleep just to keep going in the business. So I was sort of, I lost myself then as well. But I think myself personally, I was just through that exercise, it wasn't getting easier, like you said, Tony, the amount of miles I was doing. And specifically, what I realized is, or my feeling at the time was the individuals in the workplace just weren't, geared up to work the same work ethic that you with your Italian background, me with my English background, my father and Emile's father, in that matter, were somewhat workaholic. So they're still out there today doing renovations on my shed out the back, and like who does 70 this year, and Dad's 74. But God forbid you take that away from them. But that mindset that the modern day individual just doesn't work as hard is what the way I summarized it. But I guess through the transformation with Emile, I realized that actually that was my leadership style and giving back. So I'm actually engaging the staff within the business from a culture-based mindset. I'm interested actually to know, Tony, what things did you do initially, and when did you know that this new transformation was working? Because I've been there to done the tour, and I see all this cool stuff, like some of the stuff about the skills matrix, like having a person's name and then having a dot for what that person's skilled at, and if they've got a dot against that particular skill set, that person can train another person in the business on how to do it. Like that simple but genius. We adopted the things like the celebrate wins. So you have the box that you put a note in, say, Emile was amazing this month. He did some great work at bringing on a new client that we have in Canada. And then at the end of the month, the leadership team would get together, pull out all the notes of who was nominated for the celebrate wins, and then we would we'd pop a bottle of champagne and go to the pub, and that person would get an award for the month. Like things like that were genius. Even the travel one, you've got one which you take a little gnome or whatever it is around the world, and then you put the spot on the map of the world. We did that as well, because we were like my business at the time was traveling everywhere, and we took, actually what we did do is, I think you did this as well, is take a photo with, ours was like a teddy bear of some sort. You take a photo with the teddy bear in all these random spots, and then you send it back on like your WhatsApp images of this teddy bear in these random spots. Look like that gnome at Christmas time that people use to engage the kids. But what of all those different things you did, because some of them obviously are a bit more fluffy than actual tactical. What things did you do, and when did you feel like this is working? Because sometimes you mightn't get that feedback loop immediately about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for us, it was pivotal, and I remember kind of the beginning was literally getting a stick in the sand, and March, I think it was March 3rd, 2011 was the stick in the sand, and we said we actually marked that stick in the sand with an all hands meeting. We shut the company down and we had a meeting. And it was a very serious conversation to the entire team to say, we're going to be doing things differently. We think as a leadership team, we failed you. We didn't put you first. So we know you're angry at us, and we also know you have a right to be angry at us. I vowed no promises. I just made one vow that I was going to work very hard to be the best leader possible, or at least one of the best leaders possible, and that we were going to be one of the greatest places to work. But here's the catch. I don't know how to do that. and I certainly can't do it alone, and I'm going to need a lot of help. So I'll give you my apology, and it's a sincere one, but I'm going to need all you men and women to help make this a great place. And so immediately what happened is 3 camps showed up, and I share this all the time. It's immediate. It was instantaneous, and you can see it, when you're speaking, you can see it. You had the, oh my God, Tony, where have you been camp? I will totally be there for you. What the hell took you so long? You got my vote. Then you got you got some of these guys, right? So they're there and they're like, all right, you got 6 months, champ.
The old fence sitters.
I'm watching you, and we'll see how this goes. And then we had the guys and gals with pitchforks, right? I don't care what you do. Quite frankly, whatever you do, it's going to be crap anyways. So, and I like crap. So, yeah, whatever. Is this thing over yet?
Yeah.
And that was immediate. So I think one of the first things we did was identify who are those people.
Yeah.
Like, who are they in the company? And we got a small group of folks within the company at the leadership level, and I had to vie if they were in or out with me. Like I had some serious heart-to-heart conversations with my executive team, and I laid it on the line, right? I shared where I failed, and I shared where we could go, and if they wanted to be part of the journey, but it was going to be an in or out. And if it was an out, that's cool.
That's
like
fine,
we'll work with you. We'll find you the right home. Like we'll pay for whatever. Like we'll do it. But from this day forward, I need a decision, and I need you in or out. And once we established that, then they helped really curate who are these people and how do we figure out who these people are. And I think some was through trial and error, and we literally made lists of who we believed were people that were on our team and within Camp A, Camp B, and Camp C. And I think the first thing we did was we tried to coach, mentor, and train up or out.
Yeah.
Like before I can make like pretty little champagne things or some of the awesome initiatives and rituals we have within our business, we need to know who's in and who's out and who wants to be part of this journey. And I would say unequivocally the first thing we did was coach up or out. So we had some tough conversations about, hey, we really want you in this team, but we need X, Y, and Z. And if you're in, great. If you're not, then we'll have to decide what out looks like.
That's a huge conversation, because we talk a lot about, and Ruzi especially loves to use the term, people will either act their way in or they'll act their way out of your system. And it's very difficult to embrace change and bring in these beautiful things that you do with the little gnome around the world and the library and the open drink and all that beautiful stuff. If you don't have people that are actually wanting to behave into your system and don't believe what you believe in, right? Because our behaviors are dictated by our values. So I think from memory, once you've figured out the who's in, that's a beautiful way to put it too. The all-ins, the fence sitters, and the pitchforkers. That's the sort of what I heard there. Once you got the pitchforkers out, at least you had fence sitters that could either be tipped over, and then you went through a big process of creating your Roma molding core values that took what? How long did it take for you to 6 months from 250 odd all the way down to your final 10, which is the foundation of everything you do. And what's beautiful, I think, about how you've rebuilt Roma molding is everything is built through the lens of making decisions through those core values. And there's so much to learn from that. Now, we're at about the 18-minute mark. So I think what would be best, if it's okay with you, Tony, we're going to get you back on the Culture Corner. And in the next episode, we're actually going to break down some of these actual stages, because knowing you as I do, it was a stage, a barrier. Let's break that barrier, a stage and a barrier. I'd like to do that next episode and really dissect the resistance that comes with that and some of those little tactics that got you, and also that filtering process, because I'd imagine once you did the first filter, there probably was another filter of people. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the constant filter.
And if I could just add on that, but before we go, because I can't believe it's 18 minutes. I recall this, and I want to leave the viewers with this. For many of the people that know Zappos.com, it was led by a fantastic man named Tony Hsieh.
Yeah.
He became a friend and unfortunately, passed away last year. Having said that, I remember having dinner with Tony while I was in the, preliminary figuring out even what culture was. I told Tony my story about culture, and he said, well, I asked him, what advice would you give me? We're a 27-year-old business. We're this, different people. And he looks up and we're having dinner, like literally. He's like, oh yeah, I think what you should do is you should shut down the company and go across the street and open another company.
What?
And I'm like, yeah. He literally said to me, shut down your company,
right?
Close Roma Molding,
yeah,
and open Roma Molding 2
right
next door. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's possible. Because it wasn't possible. I said, and I told him, like, I literally had to like run that by me again.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's not possible. He said, okay, well then, if that's not possible, what I would tell you is it's going to be a lot of damn hard work, harder than me starting Zappos.
Yeah.
And you know what? I remember walking away saying,
Yeah.
kind of like that Dumb and Dumber kind of picture. So you're saying it's possible.
So you're saying we've got a chance.
Yeah. And we'll leave all the impossible to session 2.
Yeah, because it's culture's behavior, right? So it's just genuine, good old-fashioned. How do we change what we're doing to change behavior, which will be met with so much resistance?
It's harder to change people's behavior, specifically if it's innate. I think in your analogy before of those groups, Tony, the reality is with people mimic people, right? So if you've got those pitchfork people, the reality is they're enabling each other with that same mentality, that cooler water cooler talk with, is it really going to get this done or not? And being able to weed those people out quickly or change their behavior. Either change behavior is difficult, but weeding those people out because they're going to continue to infest the team. That's the most difficult part versus bringing people on with the new cultural framework and choosing the right people on the bus from the outset. It's much easier.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great end to that, guys. What we'll do is, Tony, we'll get you back on in the very near future. We'll leave our viewers hanging for a week or so. But as always, mate, it's a pleasure to have any interaction with you. And I look forward to catching up with you in person now that restrictions are starting to lift here in Toronto. Thanks for getting up early in one faggy there at 7 o'clock in the morning. We'll see you all next time on the Culture Corner Live.